My name is Riivo Anton and I've been doing tech investments for the past 12 years. For the past 4 years, I've been a fund manager at my own fund called United Angels VC. Today, I'm going to talk about how to fund your startup. The most important question when thinking about funding your startup is how would you like to use the money you're going to raise? Typically, startups raise money for 12 to 18 months, and over this period of time, they would like to reach some important milestone that would take their company to the next level. So this can be a validation of a new market, this can be achieving a threshold of a revenue, this can be a new release of a product or service, or usually actually it's a combination of all of those. And typically investors are asking, okay, where would you like to be in 12 or 18 months? And this is actually the journey that we want to fund. Once you have calculated your budget for the 12 or 18 months, you can really start choosing the different investment types. And let me introduce you to 4 major sources of funding. I would actually present them in the order of the price, so starting from the cheapest and ending with the most expensive alternative. The cheapest way to fund your startup is actually through the client's money. So you sell a service or a product, you earn some, and you use these funds for development of your company. Well, it's easy to say, hard to do, and therefore many startups actually think that what customers pay is just too little to enable fast growth. Therefore, they look for some other sources. The second most cheapest solution is to apply for some grants, which usually governments or corporates are providing. This is basically a free source of money, but you will need to own finance it. So actually, it cannot be the only source of the funding. Thirdly, you could apply for some loans. And these are instruments that are pretty cheap because you only need to pay an interest. But on the other hand, not many banks want to finance an early stage startup. And that's why most of the startups actually will need to use the most expensive solution, which is actually raising equity from investors. So basically you're giving away a share in your company in return of the investment. Depending on the total size of the sum you want to raise, this really determines who you should turn to. First, of course, you can turn to your family, and they are maybe the nearest source of funding for you. Secondly, you could actually turn to semi-professional investors who are usually angel investors. Really early stage companies usually start with angel investors who are typically investing maybe in an amount of 5 to 100,000 euros. Once you have some traction with your customers and you're already earning revenues, you could even apply for funding from early stage VC funds. A typical revenue threshold is maybe around 5,000 for SaaS type of companies. Different investors are focusing on different verticals. So when preparing for fundraise, you might want to learn the particular verticals the investors are focusing on. So some of them are more into software, some of them are more into hardware, some of them are into life sciences. So make sure that you are turning to investors that are actually interested in what you do. Also, there are differences between phases that the investors are focusing on. Some of them are early stage, maybe some of them are a bit more later stage. Therefore, learn about your investors and turn to right ones. Sometimes startups think, what about crowdfunding? And I think that crowdfunding is more suitable for the concepts that are B2C, not B2B. The crowdfunding actually enables companies to grow their fan base and customer base. So I think crowdfunding is better for the companies focusing on consumers. And maybe here is a tip for you. Once you have closed your round, this is the right time to try to apply for the grants, because that's the time when you have actually own financing. Once you have already exhausted whatever you have raised from the investors, the grants are totally out because you don't have any own financing available anymore. So funding your startup is actually about knowing how much money you need and turning to a right investor who is actually interested in your stage and in your vertical.